welcome to EntrepreNINES. I'm John Wist.
And I'm Bonni Mace. We're two Enneagram 9s who took the big leap into the world of entrepreneurship at a similar time, and this podcast is a space where we are inviting you to laugh and learn with us as we work to build businesses with soul. This is episode 26.
26, and we are continuing our new series on our core motivations as a 9 and how they show up in specifically our businesses.
Yes.
But we hope that you'll share how they show up in your businesses too.
That's true.
So if you want to send us a voicemail or even like a Facebook comment, I don't know, or Instagram message.
Instagram has voice memos now, I realized. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so fancy.
We had one person send us one and I was like, what is this? I just hadn't paid attention.
Oh.
Yeah. So thank you, listener.
Thinking about it now, it's like, oh yeah, people have sent me voice memos. Like, why am I not connecting the dots here?
We're good at this.
Okay. All right. Well, anyways, so you can send us a voice memo on Instagram.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear about like the overview, you're gonna have to go back 2 episodes. It's number 24. Last time we talked about fear. So that's episode number 25. And this week we're gonna talk about desire.
Yes.
So Bonni, do you want to hit us with kind of a definition of the core motivation of desire?
Yeah. So the Enneagram Type 9 core desire is having inner stability and peace of mind. Period.
That's it. So simple. So simple. Just have some inner stability and peace of mind. That's all we want.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
Easy to please.
It's so easy. It's funny because we were just talking about like different examples of this right before we started recording, and it's like, oh well, we have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things, there's so many layers here.
Yeah.
So okay, question for you. What in your mind, like what's a definition for like what you just read the definition of what Enneagram people tell us our core desires. But what does it like look like for you? Like what does inner stability and peace of mind look like for you or feel like?
Yes, I do think there's healthy versions of this for me and unhealthy versions. Okay. Because I can find some peace of mind by like just a little dose of disassociation, right? Yeah. Like that. Yeah. That's a thing.
Like just wander. Spacily by yourself somewhere.
Like her body is there in that chase lounge, but her mind is not. Yeah. And so that is something that I've like recognized in myself as a thing. And so I do think that there is like, well, I can find my peace of mind anywhere, but are you doing it in an embodied real way?
Yeah. Okay.
But then, yeah, for me, I mean, I do think this is like when I can feel a little bit more secure in myself and like some confidence about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it does help when people aren't arguing around me.
Yeah.
Or mad at me. Like, yeah. Oh my gosh. Make me think you're mad at me. And then boom, there goes the peace of mind.
Sync real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny because right before you said confidence, that's the word that popped into my head. It's like confidence in myself definitely is. Though if I look back at my life, like the times where I had confidence in myself are the times where I felt the most at ease with how things were.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's interesting because like I do think that doesn't necessarily mean like things are settled around you, like or like it's calm and flat around you. Right. It doesn't have to mean that. Yeah. It just means that personally, like I'm confident in this situation. Like I don't know if I've told the story publicly, but we've talked about it and it's been a story we've talked about other times. But like when I started my ministry job and walked away from my job at NBC, like that was a very like big decision. Yeah. But I felt super confident in it. And there was a lot of like unknown around that choice. But I didn't care. Yeah. Because I felt really confident that it was the right choice. And so like I guess that's just to put some, some actual skin on it. Like that's kind of what I mean by confidence. So
yeah. I think that some of the confidence comes back around to like, I can get back into a peace of mind. Like I might feel uncomfortable here and there. Yeah. But like, this is not my forever state. Like I'm not going to plunge myself into the depths of like conflict and uncertainty forever.
Right.
Like we're going to work through this, and it will this will bring me greater peace of mind and greater inner stability.
Right.
Later on. Cause my job transition like feels similarly. And I also had like these eerie like feelings about it. But I also knew like if I don't do this, I will experience much less peace than if I do.
Yeah.
And that's turned out to be true as well.
Yeah. And I use the example of my move away from NBC because it was probably in some ways a little bit more dramatic than even...
You took a huge pay cut.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Don't need to talk about that right now. We'll get around to money in a second. Yeah. I mean, it was well, I think it's the one I bring up because it's the first time in my life that I really felt that way. Like that I was so confident in the choice that I was making was right. Yeah. Even though everything around it didn't feel super great. Whereas the move to like my own business also felt very confident in that choice. It was a much more gradual choice. So that kind of helped, you know? And also it didn't feel as tumultuous, like in the surrounding environment at first. So I think that's why I bring that one up. But yes, I can understand, like I watched you do this transition too. And so I can understand that like you were confident in it, but there's always questions.
There's always questions. Yeah. And I think that some of it is like as nines, if I'll go to coaching mode for a hot second before we get into the specifics of our business, I guess.
Yeah, please.
Is being able to recognize like what does my healthy peace of mind and inner stability feel like versus my unhealthy like coping.
Yeah.
And you know, there are times that we need to just like cope and do the things we need to do to get to the next day. But when that becomes like your default mode of operation all the time, and that's the only inner stability or inner peace of mind you feel like you can find. Yeah. Then something is off. Yeah. You need a little support.
So let's give some examples. Like what are some, how do you know the difference like between the two, and what are some examples of both of those for you? I'll share too, but.
Okay. So the biggest thing to pay attention to is, are you engaged in right action in any way? Like, are you engaged in any sort of, so unhealthy disassociation is 100% going to be like you're not doing much at all that contributes to your well-being or to real peace of mind or to like what you feel like you're supposed to be called to do or anything. So, and you're also not present to the moment. Like you're not aware of your surroundings. You're not experiencing joy. Like you're just experiencing consistency, I guess is a good way to put it. And that feels like stability.
Which really the consistency is just you've put yourself in a place to feel the calm waters, even though they might not actually be like you've tricked yourself a little bit into like calmness.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. So John's talking about like previously I've referenced the idea that like Enneagram 9s, we have in our river. Yeah. And we like the lazy river bits of it the best. Like that's the desire we're after. We don't love the rapids and the tumultuous waters. Yep. And so if we're going to go with the water example, there's a difference between like a Walmart parking lot puddle that feels calm, but is like full of oil slick.
I love where this is going. Oh my gosh.
And like, no, you don't want to sit in that, right? Like there is something that when you actually come aware to like what you're sitting in doesn't feel right and feels icky. Yeah, yeah. But then it's really easy to disassociate and be like, well, this is water. Yeah. You know, and it's calm.
So similar kind of analogy is like on a river, there are eddies, and eddies are where like water just sits calmly and collects, but it's not because the water around it isn't moving fast. It's because it's collected in a spot. And some eddies are very clean because the water keeps even in the calmness, the water keeps circulating, but some eddies are very dirty. Oh yeah. Because the water just like literally gets stuck and stagnant and stale. And so we're talking about the second one.
Yeah. You want to keep moving. And like even just the fact that like your river's moving. Right. And you feel and that this is where some of the confidence comes in. Like, you know, you can handle the rapids when they come.
Yeah.
So right action is the like virtue of a type 9. And that comes a little bit from like our type 3 growth wing. And, you know, so just the idea that like a 9 at true peace and a 9 really growing, like we are bringing things together, and that takes active work. So that's, you know, that's what I'm noticing, or that's what I notice and can tell the difference is when I am seeking like a false peace of mind, it's a stale eddy, it's a Walmart puddle. Like,
so good.
Like I'm doing things that aren't good for my mental health in the long run, but they feel good in the short term, or like I'm not engaged with my kids in the present moment, or even with my own feelings. So that's the biggest difference.
That's good. I think that's really, I mean, that's even after just having our short conversation before we started recording, like even like that, the idea of a right action is really good, because I was giving you the example of like, sometimes if I need to feel stability, like I'll just find all the things that need done in my house and go do them and feel super like accomplished at the end of the day, that I just completed all of these different tasks, and like they were things that needed to get done, and look at it, they're done, right? But the next morning rolls around and I have this sinking feeling in my stomach that I just spent my day, that I could have gotten work done doing all these other things. And like it's not that wasn't good things to get done, but it probably wasn't right action for the moment to actually give me the stability that I needed, or the inner peace I needed.
And a lot of times those like busy work tasks are also fueled by like, at least for me, when I do that, because I do the same thing. Like if my house is super clean, I'm probably very stressed about something. And you've been here this week. I've gotten a lot of work done. Could you tell upstairs? We were in my own house. John saw it. And so there's just like, there's always give and take for that kind of stuff. Especially when both of us have busy work weeks. But a lot of times my motivation underneath doing all the little tasks too is, one, this is easier, I know I can accomplish it, and two, like my husband's going to be happy about this, my family's going to be happy about this, so somebody is going to be happy with me and like give me the affirmation that I need. And then the right action thing that I should have been working on, like maybe someone will reject it, maybe someone will reject me. John's flopped over.
It's just like, even this morning, like yesterday I got a lot done. And Laura was like, this is so great that all these things got done. And even then this morning, I'm like, I feel like I have not gotten enough work done this week. And she's like, what? Like, why are you not like, then why didn't you say so? It's like, because I did all the things.
Only typewriter house.
And I got the affirmation that I really desired, right? Like I got that.
Good job, wifey.
But here I am the next morning, like, holy crap, like I have a ton of work I have to do. And then I was like, and I'll reference now, like, because we talked about this before too, like we're reading this worry book as a family at the kitchen table in the morning before school. And today was about like, speak logic into your worry.
Nice. And
the logic I had to speak into my worry this morning was, I'm not on a deadline. Like all the work I need to do, but I'm not on a deadline. Like I've not been given a deadline for the things I'm working on. And so do I want to get them done? Yes. But my deadline is self-imposed to get done when I get done. So
you are interrupting your own peace of mind more than necessary.
I am. Bonni, why do we do this? So
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother episode, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
It has gotten to, because of like enneagram work, and now Mark and I have been working at home on and off for nearly 3 years, for more than 3 years now, because that happened in 20. That's crazy. Yeah. I was talking to someone who's going to maybe have like the potential of working from home more often. She's like, how do you have the balance? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 3 years of us figuring out what it looks like when we are doing dishes because we're avoiding something. Or whatever. And so it has gotten to the point that sometimes Mark will know about something that I want to be working on for my business, and I just keep that open to him of like, I know I need to do this. I'm very freaked out by it. I don't want to do it. And then he'll come downstairs for a break, and I'm like wiping the counters, and he like wrestles the rag out of my hand and is like, you go down to your basement office. and do your thing. So there is a good like place for community support in that, because that's a
Lauren will do the same thing where she'll say like, I'm gonna take the kids to the bus, like you like from 7 to 9 go work, and like we won't interrupt you. And so like having the ability for someone else to tell me that I have this space is really helpful.
Same.
Yeah, because then it's not dependent on me, because if it was dependent on me, I would do those things, I would find those things. And some of them are productive and some of them are not. And so one of the things I wanted to make sure that we brought up, because I think it's probably pretty common even with not nines, is the scroll, social media,
terrible,
getting stuck in a whirlpool pit of death. So I know you brought it up, so I just wanted to like make sure that we address it, because I feel like it is a huge distraction for everyone.
Right, which is so interesting when I think about it, because honestly there are so many disruptive things on social media. So I'm like, you go to it, and so this is how it shows up for me a lot of times, is I'll be like writing something for my work, or like planning, and I'll accomplish like one paragraph or one task that was really hard on my brain, and I'm like, time for a break, and here I am on Instagram. And that is the more unhealthy. Like, I think there's a good way to take breaks that probably I need to figure out. Like, this is actually a good conversation, because I need to figure out what a healthy break looks like for me. And right now it is scrolling. And so it's like I wrestle through, and my mind has worked so hard, and I've disrupted my hunt for peace of mind and inner stability to do something good. And then I'm like, let's find it in the scroll and like just check out for a second. And I mean, I do that all the time. All the time.
Well, and I do think that there is probably, and this is probably true for a lot of people who are solo entrepreneurs or have their own businesses, and that is that like social media feels like a thing that is also could be productive. And so it's tempting to go to social media in like a quote unquote break, because like my brain sometimes says, but you're doing work still, like you're checking on whatever,
DMs, make sure.
When in reality it is just a excuse to go check out. But I do think like it's a good point to bring up, because I think like, especially now that it's getting warmer outside, it's getting nicer outside, like for me, I know it's important that I get outside at some point during a break, because I have a hole for an office, and so
windows.
There's no windows, and so like something like that is really good. And then also the thing that I was thinking of too is like, it's not necessarily a break, but it is taking my work somewhere else, outside of my quote unquote usual environment, because then my breaks actually sometimes are just to like get food or a drink, and that takes me away for long enough to then come back and be ready again, versus like sitting there and scrolling. Like, I tend to get a lot more done if I remove myself from sometimes my more typical environment.
That's really good.
I
don't know what that is about that either, because that works for me too. It was just like even a little break of people watching or something like that will like bring me back to it. And it could be that there's just less stuff to tempt you to like, my dishes aren't here, and my and things.
Everything else around you when you're in like your house, like if you work from home, like everything else around you is like it's very easy to get distracted by all of the things, because they're right there. Whereas like when you're out someplace, those things aren't.
I think some of it is apparent. Like for me too, when I go out to work, I've been given permission to work uninterrupted. And neglect all of the other responsibilities. And so I do think when I peel back the layers of that too, it's like it is fulfilling my inner desire, my core desire for peace of mind. It's like this is a blessed work moment.
You just knighted your work moment.
I did with my hands. And you can go and be unaffected by all of your other realities. And so I do think that is part of it too, is it's just like, look at this. I've been given the gift of uninterrupted work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. I like that, because I think that is something that I know it's something that a lot of people desire, but I think as nines, we definitely desire that ability to have uninterrupted work. That does bring an inner calmness to us. But it's hard when you're at home, but it's also hard when you're creative. And I wanted to touch on that too, because you brought it up, like being in a creative field. And I think most of the people who listen, like this applies to.
Yeah. Most entrepreneurial work is creativity in some way.
Yeah, there has to be some level of creativity in what you're doing to be an entrepreneur. And so it's hard because there's no right or wrong. There's no like ultimate confirmation, you know, that like something is actually done. You know, like I think about a website, like, oh man, it's just never done. You know, but like even, you know, for me, like for videos, like I'm giving it my best shot and I'm putting it back out there and just saying like, is this okay? You know, need to start all over? Yeah. Do you like it? I don't know. And so, you know, I think that is, it's funny because like that is constant turmoil in the thing that I've chosen to do. Yeah. The same with you, like constant like reminder of like the thing you've chosen to do is not a defined like yes or no. And so yeah, it can just be hard to.
It is. Yeah. I feel like, and I do feel like that's probably when I take the most like, you know, narcotizing breaks. That's the word for our like defense mechanism, is like this narcotization sort of thing. Yeah. Is when I am doing like hard creative work. Yeah. And I'm like, and it's not, because I do think there's like creative flow state. Yeah. And that feels much easier. Yep. And like everybody loves when you find that, right? Yep. We all love to get in that zone. Yeah. But those moments where you're like really wrestling to get something done. Yes. Or get something out of your head and onto the paper or the screen or whatever. Yeah. Like that stuff is so much harder and so much more disruptive. Yeah. I mean, those are the big rapids that like you have to pedal hard through, and you have to find the right path down the miniature waterfall and like all of these things. Yeah. Yeah. And so when you do get through that and get to the bottom of it, the temptation to be like, I'm gonna go find that puddle.
Let me go find an oily, dirty puddle to jump in.
Yeah, because that was tough. But then you look back and like the finished product of working through all that stuff is something to feel very proud of. And you realize you're bringing about what you hope to see in the world, which then brings like that ultimate inner stability.
Peace. Yeah. Yeah. Question, because this just popped in my head as you were talking about that. Is there something that happens in your brain, or like some way that you physically or even like vocally express, like when you find that flow state, when you find that inner peace, like how does your body respond to that? Because I can think of a way, but I'm curious, like
how does my body
like does your brain respond in a certain way? Does your body like, are you saying certain things in your head? Are you vocalizing anything? Like, are you like,
I mean, I definitely lose track of time. Okay. Is all of a sudden I have alarms on my phone for my kids need to be picked up because of this reason. Right. Because I will completely lose track of time. Yeah. And like and I usually have good music on, and I probably am like bopping around a little bit. Yeah. And more relaxed. I'm a chronic like shoulder raiser. Okay. And my physical therapists. Yeah. And every person that's ever touched my neck muscles has said, you really got to get this under control. So yeah, I do feel like that relaxed and like set back probably a little bit more. Yeah. But yeah, I also struggle with mind-body connection of it. Yeah. Which is a 9th thing.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, like, the thing that popped in my head as you were talking about like flow state and stuff is like when I enter into that, or when I find that space, like I will sometimes in my office by myself be like, yes, like
how do we a fly on the wall?
Like, there it is, you know, like like I get like there's just times I get so excited. I get so excited for like the little things that make everything just feel like it fell into place. And I do vocalize sometimes. And so I was curious if I was alone in that. So if you're a vocalizer when you celebrate, just let me know.
But honestly, like, well, and I've been talking about this a lot in my newsfeed and stuff too, like working to celebrate and actually experience the joy of like healthy is a thing for me. Like I'm talking about it so much because it's a thing for me. That I have like spent a lot of my life just like in a numb existence instead of a peace of mind existence. And I'm calling the numb existence peace of mind and inner stability. And it's not. And so I think what you just said is a great example of like telling the difference between like a healthy feeling of peace of mind versus like what truly it is, because I think peace and joy, like those come hand in hand. Right. And so being able to actually like feel all of that is a great example. And I think we nines tend to like can really numb ourselves out from all the feelings. And that's the danger of it.
And I will say like that is not probably as frequent as it could be, just because of the fact that like I think a lot of times it is just like I just need to get this done, right? I think it's definitely in those times of like higher level creativity where it's like I have an idea, I want to try it, I want to see if it works, and it works, and you're like, yes. And so, you know, I'm not saying it's like constant, but it is just something that when you brought up flow state, like that just is like, oh yeah, like there's just something that feels so good.
I will say Mark notices like a day that I've had a good like workflow and felt I've accessed a good flow state or whatever. I'll come bounding up the stairs and he's like, oh, you seem like you had a good day. So obviously there's something physically that is happening. Because I am exuding that kind of energy in some way. But yes. Back to that. That's good.
Anything else on desire?
On desire, I mean, I don't know that we got super specific. I think the way it holds me back, because I do like I think there are good ways and there are bad ways, and we talked a little bit about both of them. But I think one of the ways that my core desire does hold me back a lot of times is like the fear of rejection. Of like my inner stability would rather not know how someone feels about me at all sometimes. Than for them to like have to tell me. I don't like you have to have an awkward conversation with me because I cold emailed you and you don't want to talk to me about it. Like, I don't know. So I do have to watch out for that. A little bit of just like, I mean, I can figure out how to coupon better instead of making money. So I don't bother anybody else.
I did just think, oh man, we didn't even talk about money. And I definitely hinted that we would talk about money. And I think that
do it.
Well, I think that is, it's interesting because, I think money has always been an issue for me, right? Like it's always been a like a question mark or like a thing I worry about. But it's interesting because I don't think money has necessarily in reality been an issue. It's like a manufactured thing. And so like I have a number, right?
You have your magic number.
I have my magic number.
Last episode we talked about that.
For my business account, that if I'm like under it, I'm freaking. And so like inner stability and peace for me is being above that number. But it's a construct created. Again, we're back. We need to do an episode about how we disrupt our own inner peace. I think. Because like that is something that I've created that disrupts my inner peace. And it's just like you said, like how it's obvious when you go bounding up the stairs that it's been a good day. Like it's can be physically obvious at times how stressed out I am about money. And Lauren will be like, why?
John, do you start to move like a robot a little bit when you're stressed out? Because I feel like when I experience you stressed out, we work together, you do start to have like sharper like turns of your body. And
I mean, I'm sure. I don't know about
John starts to move a little bit like a robot.
Maybe.
Like a humanoid robot.
Maybe.
He's like all the muscles get tighter.
I will say like I definitely move with more like intentionality and purpose, like intensity, I guess would be maybe the way to describe.
Maybe that's why they feel sharp. Sharp turn.
Yeah, because I think there's just much more like, oh, you're gonna go that way, and I'm gonna go fast. So yeah, because I know what I'm doing, and I'm not getting it out of here. So yeah, I do think there's some of that.
That's funny.
Yeah. So
yeah. Oh man, yes. I mean, yeah, there are lots of ways the desire comes in good and like helpful, motivating ways and in bad ways. But I do think learning for you to differentiate, like, how am I pursuing my core desire in healthy ways versus unhealthy ways? That's an important, and I think it'll look a little different for everybody.
Yeah. But I think for me, like, the takeaway for me today is like right action. Like, how can I better assess like if what I'm doing is right action?
Yeah.
Because I think that is what I get caught up in. I'm doing something. The choice I'm making isn't necessarily a bad choice, and it's not necessarily an unproductive choice, but is it the right action for now? And I think that is really, really helpful because I can very quickly make a decision that is probably not the right action, but it feels like it will lead to something that is more calm.
Yeah. Yeah. And to throw like a whole, because we've very systematized this in our conversation as like, housework is delay and career work is good.
Right.
However, I cut up that tree branch last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that turned out to be right action. Like, I gave up a day of work that day to do that. And for me, it was just okay, I'm not going to produce good work because I was in a weird headspace. Like, I'd had some interactions already that day that like threw me off. And so I knew if I sat at my computer and I tried to write content, and also had all these things that like, I knew my husband was juggling a lot. Both of our cars are broken.
So there's that. And
my husband's trying to fix them. And then we had this huge tree branch snap in half in our yard. And we had to it was balanced in the trees. And we had to pull it down. But then it was sitting in our yard in this huge chunk. And so there was just a lot on our family's plate and a lot that my husband felt like, this is my personal responsibility.
Yep.
And so for me that day, because mentally I needed to get out of my head and I needed to get out of my anxiety.
Yeah.
And the way we do that well for a 9 is to get in our bodies.
Yeah.
It was like, I cut up a tree branch. That will get me in my body.
Yeah.
That will get me out of my head.
Yeah.
That will get me feeling like I can do something that was hard.
Yeah.
Because it was hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had like a little, I don't know, what are those little saws with just the tiny blade? It was not a chainsaw.
Like a hacksaw?
Would have been, yes, it was a hacksaw.
Okay.
It would have been more appropriate to have some kind of chainsaw.
Anything.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you had a sawzall, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
It's motorized, right?
Yeah.
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 Sawzall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A motorized one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a small blade.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that for excuse me, my husband seems to be falling off the stairs. He's fine. We are having work done. Which sounds weird. What am I talking about?
Getting
right action.
In your body, your right action. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. For me, last week, that's what right action looks like.
Yeah.
Because I knew I was paying attention to like where my head was.
Yeah.
And where I probably needed it to be that day. So
yeah. So I actually just saw a video by a filmmaker that I appreciate, and he does a lot of like not just filmmaking stuff, but like career stuff. And his latest video was about like, you need to enjoy things other than filmmaking. Like, you need to enjoy things other than your creation process. And like, I think that is last night, I had intended to do work last night because I didn't get a lot of work during the day. But I also knew that I didn't want to go to bed super late, and I had like an hour. It was like, I either start something now that I know I won't finish and potentially tempt myself to just keep working until it's done. Or I just enjoy some time with my wife and we sit down and we watch a show because that's what she wants to do. And so we watched a show last night.
Yeah.
And so, like, that to me was the right action for the moment. And it wasn't towards productivity, it wasn't towards business, it was towards enjoyment.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's the choice we need to make.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Core desire.
Core desire.
Yeah. We would love to hear from you about your core desire.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's just be honest. So far, we've not gotten any voicemails from you guys, and that's fine. And so
we're feeling lonely.
But no, I was just having this idea of like, if you want to talk about any of them, like how your core fear, core desire, we still have weakness and longing to go.
Yes.
If you do one we've already talked about, like we can always go back and readdress it. And if we get enough, we could like do a whole bonus episode.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So fun.
That'd be great.
Guys, help us do a bonus episode. Now I'm excited about that idea. And yeah, you can do that. Now we're giving you lots of ways, as we did at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, you can go to Anchor FM and do it. You can send us an Instagram voice memo. And then there was one more thing you said. What'd you say?
I just said like comment on either our posts or on Facebook or whatever.
You don't have to use your voice. No. You should use your voice, Nine.
Your voice means something.
It matters. No, but you don't have to go yet.
Yeah. So next episode we'll do core weakness, and then core longing. So, yeah. And while you're at it, just give us a rating and review.
Yeah,
helps people find us. And we're on the internet.
We are on the internet. You can find all of our socials. And John, I don't think we talked about this because it's since we last recorded, updated his whole website.
Yes,
it looks great.
I feel great about it because it actually has some of my work on it. Just like, long story. But yes, I feel great about it. Still got some work to do on it, but I feel very good about it.
Yeah. So go to the show notes and check out John's website. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.